Our brave protagonist, STX Soul Innovation, is taking on an incredibly talented Zerg player, Symbol, who played with Team Zubu at the time. And the thing you have to remember about Symbol is that he knocked Innovation out in the previous GSL 3-2. It was a best of 5, that was in the round of 8. And then Symbol went on to play Roro in the finals. And if you've been following the series chronologically, which I highly encourage you to, you'll know in the previous round of this tournament that we're covering in the Innovation-a-thon, Innovation monster moded Roro. So it's 3-2 Innovation. Innovation took the first 3 maps if you have not been following along and have not paused to watch all the VODs. And Innovation really is untouchable in this era in macro games. And Symbol cheesed the shit out of him in the previous 2 games. It was a straight up Ling Bane bust the first time, and then the second time it was your standard like Roach Bane, and he set it up very well with good Roach micro, and he hit when Innovation was in the 2 power troughs of the style that Inno plays. Now if you don't know what a power trough is, it's the opposite of a power spike. So Innovation is at 2 weak points when he plays his signature get fast hellions, play greedy, get a fast third style, literally called the Innovation build that he's famous for. He's weak when he has made his bunker wall and only has a couple marines and has yet to get a hellion. That's one power trough that's significant. And then after his third finishes, but the income has yet to kick in, and he's adding barracks 3-5. That's the other power trough. Symbol has exploited both of these in the previous 2 games. Those are the 2 major power troughs of this style. The signature defensive macro innovation style that he popularized. This is a classic game from 2013, and he fails to get up the ramp, which sucks because normally that wouldn't really matter that much, but you're playing against a guy that just cheesed you twice. The map's super important here. This is Whirlwind and it's cross positions. This is the macro map. If you were better than your opponent and you were a macro player and you were going to play someone in a grudge match, you would pick Whirlwind in this era, and it's still a good map to pick if you still play the game. Standard, open, it's probably like the best 4-player map in the game in my opinion. I really like this, and Frost and Metalopolis I think are like 3 really good ones if you want to like play custom games. I know that a lot of my viewers are new to the game, especially those that watch my guide videos. And I think in RTS, like a 11-year-old RTS, like you click the map thing and it's like, Jesus Christ, like what's like a classic or good map? The game's 12 years old. Like I don't just want to pick a ladder map that are all sort of like standard. I want to pick like an interesting map that pro gamers have played famous matches on. Like I don't give a shit about any of the current ladder maps, and I can say that about like the last 3 years of maps with the exception of Pillars of Gold, which I thought was a really good interesting map. The rest of them have been very boring and cookie cutter, whereas throughout Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Swarm I feel like there were more memorable good maps. Like they were more willing to be creative. Like I love Frost with the high ground above the third. That's a really fun map to like play 2v2 on, honestly, like with friends. I also like Star Station, which we saw in this series. That was that ridiculous game where Symbol 6 pooled and Inno 2 racks and it looked like a ladder game. That was Star Station. That was a 4-player map. The Zerg player is getting 1-1 upgrade, so is the Terran, very standard, and the Zerg player is getting a Roach Warren and a Baneling Nest. Now the reason that it's so important that they are on Whirlwind is this is the biggest macro map in the pool. Daybreak is probably the second biggest macro map, but it's still like, that's just like a very standard balance map. That is like the standard balance map. The most played map in StarCraft 2 history, Daybreak. That's another like classic one you should add to your bookmarks. If you can never remember the map names, like my dear 2v2 partner, Elusive Smoke, if you like on your Battle.net profile, when you go to create a custom game, you can add these map names by bookmarking them, and then you can just click like my bookmarks when you make customs with your friends instead of being like, what the hell was that map called? Oh yeah, Cloud Kingdom. Symbol got Overlord speed here, so he's gonna peek in and see like, oh, it's innovation. Like he's doing standard innovation stuff with one notable exception. He's not pumping out hellions. Look at this incredible sim city that Inno's making, and Inno's going to go for tanks here. So Inno knows that Symbol has been aggressive, he's been going for tanks, and Inno usually goes hellions, but he's made the adjustment to the aggressive player to go into tanks, and this is brilliant. And I love the Sim City here, putting depots in the way, making tons of extra bunkers. This is intelligent. This is the sort of thing that players who deserve to win GSL do. They're losing to aggressive play, so they put out safety depots, they do extra Sim City, and right here Roach Bane is going to scream in and try to kill the SCVs. The SCVs evacuate, but the Sim City is so good, the Banes can't really get to where they need to be because of all the tank splash. If it would have committed there, all the Banes would have blown up, because remember, Inno has like tanks really close, as well as his army. Like he's worried about Inno like bringing all of his army in. And it's not like he has a changeling in his base and he knows exactly what he has. So beautiful SimCity from Inno, god tier, tank in the perfect spot, extra bunkers, and the Roach Bane just gets eviscerated. And the Roach Bane is the sort of like brawling army that does well against like all Marines, no tanks, no medevacs. That's what like Roach Bane is good against. That and like greedy play. When you have a plethora of tanks, which is the real counter to this, as well as Marauders, it's very difficult to deal with. And Inno's counter push is going to slam Symbol right in the mouth because he's going to set up several tanks, and Symbol has fallen behind after his aggression did not really kill enough workers. And the reason that people don't go Roach Bane more is because Marauder Siege Tank is really good against it, and it was standard in this era to go more Marine Mine. Now Inno was one of the few guys that still consistently would make enough Marauders, and that was one of the reasons why his first Zerg was so good. But the mines aren't as good against the style, and frankly, the sort of attack Symbol was doing was hitting before Inno really got mines. But Inno made this adjustment to go for a tank-heavy style, and he retreats with the better army, and he cleans this up without it really killing workers, and he's doing a drop. I love that this was the era of the Infested Terran. That spell is way better than the Microbial Shroud, the thing they have in the game now. Inno leads with Medivacs, and remember, you can't make Ravagers in this era, so when you go for a Roach mix, it just stalls out. Like, the value of the Roaches stall out. It's not any good. Lings are trying to counterattack, but this was one of the hardest things about playing Inno, was his production was so good. If you counterattacked him, he would just have stuff there, and we saw that when Inno played Life in this series. But notice how he had a tank and a bunker and stuff in the bunker. A lot of Terran players would have just fucking had their rally points skewed across the map, think like Marine King especially. Bio is being pushed forward here, and there's not really enough creep spread to work with. And roaches just do not scale. Like, the reason you don't see roach heavy comps is A, there was no Ravagers in this era, so like now, like, oh yeah, I'll go roach, and then like you can get away with a lot of Ravagers and good spell use. It didn't exist in this time. You're just like looking into fighting 5 siege tanks and Marauders, and your opponent's never going to take damage to counterattacks. I mean, look how much stuff he's left behind, and he still has a plethora across the map. And he's killing the exterior bases. The Zerg is going to really make one last push here because he's gone down to 2 bases. He's basically destitute. And notice that Inno left a bunch of army behind because he knew he was going to be countered again. Very important to like understand your win and loss condition, because he knows like, okay, this 5 tank army can't be killed. Oh my god, those mine hits. Filthy. But he knows like, okay, I have 5 tanks and good upgrades. Like, I can win the ground war. Inno's aggressing upon the Infestor pit, and finally, the gauntlet is thrown. Symbol completely drops Trow, throws all the Infested Terran out in a last-ditch all-in maneuver, but Inno's macro is too good, and Symbol calls it GG. Innovation moves on to the finals, where we'll face Sulky. We'll see you there. Turn the notification bell on.